Viking sagas describe warriors who entered battle in a state that barely sounds human. They bit their shields, ignored pain, killed without recognizing friend from enemy, and when it ended, they collapsed for days, exhausted, confused, sometimes unable to remember what they had done. For centuries, historians treated this as myth, poetry, Viking propaganda. Then researchers started reading the descriptions not as literature, but as symptom reports. The shaking, the flushed face, the rage, the delirium, the collapse afterward. They didn't just sound like madness, they sounded like poisoning. And in a Viking grave near Fyrkat, Denmark, archaeologists found something that may explain why. Around 980 CE, a woman was buried at the ring fortress of Fyrkat in Denmark. Not as a soldier, not as a wife. She was dressed in blue and red robes threaded with gold, the color of royalty, carried to her grave in a horse-drawn carriage. Around her, silver toe rings found nowhere else in Scandinavia. An iron staff with bronze fittings, the object the Norse sagas associate with one specific type of person. A völva, a seeress, someone whose job was to prepare warriors for what was coming, and in a small leather pouch tucked against her body, black henbane seeds, enough that their presence was clearly deliberate. The Norse sources describe the Berserker trance in consistent, specific detail. It started with shivering, teeth chattering, then the face flushed red and swollen. Then came rage, not controlled aggression, but something closer to total system failure. Indiscriminate, unstoppable. Afterward, the warrior was destroyed for days. Exhausted, amnesiac. That pattern is not what myth looks like. Myth is vague. Myth says they were very strong. This is specific enough to diagnose. And it matches one thing, almost exactly, anticholinergic poisoning. A well-documented medical syndrome caused by a handful of plants, one of which was sitting in a leather pouch in a grave in Denmark. So the question was never really whether berserkers existed. Too many independent sources, sagas, legal codes, foreign chronicles describe the same thing. The question was what produced it. Was it ritual psychology, alcohol, something else? And why, of all the plants in Northern Europe, did a high-status Norse seeress go to her grave carrying this one? The obvious candidate, the one that still turns up in documentaries and history podcasts, is fly agaric, the red and white spotted mushroom, Amanita muscaria. The idea was proposed in 1784 by a Swedish botanist named Samuel Udman, who had read accounts of Siberian shamans using it in ritual and drew the comparison. It was a reasonable guess for 1784. The problem is that it has stayed a guess. Not a single fly agaric mushroom has ever been recovered from a Viking Age grave, a Viking ritual site, or any confirmed Norse context. Not one, and the effects don't fit. Fly agaric tends towards sedation and disorientation. The Berserker accounts describe explosive, sustained physical aggression. The mushroom theory is almost certainly wrong. It just has better marketing than the alternative. Alcohol is simpler and probably part of the picture. The sagas do place heavy drinking in pre-battle ritual, but alcohol doesn't do what the sources describe. It slows reaction time. It doesn't produce amnesia specific to a violent episode while leaving everything else intact. It doesn't cause the shaking and flushing that consistently appear at the onset of the trance. And crucially, nobody outlaws alcohol. In 1015, the Norwegian Jarl Eirikur Hakonarson made berserking a crime punishable by outlawry. Iceland's law code did the same. Governments do not pass laws banning drunk soldiers. They pass laws banning something that actually works. Black henbane Hyoscyamus niger is in the same family as deadly nightshade and mandrake. Its active compounds are still used in medicine today. Scopolamine is the active ingredient in motion sickness patches. Hyoscyamin is used before surgery to suppress the gag reflex. At those doses, unremarkable. At higher doses, the picture changes completely. Pupils blow wide, heart rate spikes, skin flushes and burns, inhibitions collapse, judgment goes. What remains is a stripped-down physical state, reduced pain sensitivity, heightened aggression, near total disconnection from consequences. And when it clears, significant amnesia for the episode. The Vikings didn't know the chemistry. They knew the effect. That's enough. The Fyrkat grave is not the only place Henbane turns up. Seeds have been identified at multiple Viking Age sites across Scandinavia. In 2024, a study published in Antiquity confirmed intentional human use of black henbane at a Roman-era site in the Netherlands, a hollowed bone, sealed, packed with roughly 4,000 seeds. Not accidental. Stored. People were gathering it, preserving it, and keeping it in containers designed to protect it. Henbane was not drifting into these sites. It was being managed, which brings the völva back into focus. Her role in Norse society was not decorative. The sagas describe völva as essential to pre-battle preparation, not just for prophecy, but for the ritual conditioning of warriors. She sat on a special high seat. Warriors came to her, and if the Berserker state required a specific plant at a specific dose at the right moment before battle, then the person holding the seeds was not a passive observer. She was the one who loaded the weapon. Here is the detail that tends to stop people. Of the roughly 30 graves excavated at Fyrkat, hers stands out in every category. The quality of the grave goods, the horse-drawn carriage, the gold thread, and then the staff. An iron staff with bronze fittings, the single most consistent material marker of a völva across the Norse archaeological record. The object that keeps appearing in graves identified as seeress's across different sites, different centuries. She was buried with it because it defined what she was. She was buried with the seeds because they defined what she did. The rage that terrified half of Northern Europe for 2 centuries may have been, at its core, one woman's professional knowledge of a single plant. Berserkers were outlawed in 1015. By the 12th century, they had vanished from the historical record entirely. The standard explanation is Christianization, the new religion, had no room for Odin's warriors, for ritual trance, for the kind of pre-battle preparation the Old Norse system required. That's true, but it's incomplete because the Christianization of Scandinavia didn't just eliminate the Berserkers, it eliminated the völva. The two disappear from the record at the same time. That is probably not a coincidence. The Berserker was only half the system. The seeress with the seeds was the other half. Remove one and the other stops working. Henbane itself didn't disappear. It shows up in medieval brewing Groot ale, used it as a core ingredient until Germany's Reinheitsgebot of 1516 pushed it out. It appears in witches' flying ointment recipes in the 15th and 16th centuries. The plant kept circulating. What was lost was the specific knowledge, the dose, the timing, the ritual frame that made it function as a weapon rather than a poison. That knowledge went with the women who held it. Nobody wrote it down. The Berserkers were real. The fear they generated was real. The military advantage was real, and the plant was real. It is still in clinical use today, measured in micrograms, prescribed by doctors, shipped in transdermal patches. What changed is not the chemistry. What changed is who controls the dose. For a brief window in Viking Age Scandinavia, that knowledge sat with a specific group of women buried with iron staffs and leather pouches and gold thread, in horse-drawn carriages with more status than most warriors. The sagas turned them into mystics. The church turned them into witches. The archaeology turns them back into what they probably were, specialists. The most feared soldiers in medieval Northern Europe may not have gone to battle alone. They went after visiting her.